Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Well, a sunny day transitioning into a beautiful sunset. I'm meteorologist Gabe. Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Like I said, beautiful day, all things considered, all throughout your Monday, but it was a cold one, and that's the thing about our forecast is we are finally feeling like winter, and those cold temperatures are here to stay. Carry those over into your Tuesday, and a brief break by Wednesday, but then the real cold settles in by the end of this week. Tracking that in just a moment. Sunshine. Yeah, if you thought today was beautiful, sunshine returns on your Tuesday as well. Wednesday, that's when things will again take a break. We'll track that in just a moment here in the Room to Room Weather Center. But the big headline tonight is that the National Weather Service storm surveys are in. What were each of those tornadoes rated? How many did we see on our Friday and Saturday? Tracking all of that in more detail here in the Room to Room Weather Center for Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Of course, with that forecast, we can't begin until we look at the first 12. And as you can see behind me, a beautiful night in store for North Mississippi. 42 degrees by 7, mid-30s there by 10. And as we fall overnight, you can see below freezing temperatures once again settling into the area. So if you thought this morning was cold, oh, it's going to be that same temperature, or at least the same realm of those temperatures as we work our way into our Tuesday morning. So keep those layers on standby, keep that jacket by the door, and crank those cars in the morning. And of course, wives out there, tell your husbands to start those cars in the morning. And I'm talking to myself when I say that, of course. So it's going to be a cold one for sure, but at least we're enjoying those beautiful clear skies all night long. Currently seeing that over there in the Tupelo area, or should I say right here in the Tupelo area. Big thank you to the folks at Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling for providing us this shot right here. 45 degrees, dew point at 23. That's also a big story heading into tonight because that drier air continues to basically take over our forecast, and we're seeing that all across North Mississippi. I love the camera there in Oxford because you're getting a little bit of a shot of those stars up there in the sky. 41 degrees with those dew points right around that same margin, but it is just going to be a great forecast once again into those overnight hours. Don't have to worry about rumbles of thunder. Don't have to worry about rainfall. We just have to worry about staying warm. And as long as we crank the heater, I think we'll do exactly that. 41 degrees, dew point in the upper 20s there in Starkville. Of course, can't show Oxford without showing Starkville. As you know, our two college towns showing up this evening, and of course, showing up as basketball season keeps going. One of the big things this week is, of course, submitting your vote for where we're headed for our Mississippi Live Weather Game of the Week. As you know, it's Girls Week. That means girls basketball. We're going to come watch one of your games and enjoy some highlights there, and of course, enjoy a great time out there with your Spirit Squad of the Week, your Cheer Squad of the Week. And actually with Spirit Squad, one note I will say, and then we'll get back to the forecast. Spirit Squad can consist of pep band, student section, or just the rowdiest fans in the stands. And of course, it has to be for the winning side, but that's one of the competitions that I love about basketball season. Whereas in the fall, we just primarily do band. Now we get to feature some of the fans. And I think that some fans will show up, and some of those fan bases, whoever wins this week needs to show up and show out heading into your Friday. All right, let's bring it back into the forecast and track what to expect as we get closer to our Friday. Of course, you know, we're a long ways away, but we're getting closer as each minute passes. Our Mama Justice Doppler radar showing you those clear skies. That has been the case all day long. If we cycle this back on a 12-hour loop, you can see that there was not any precipitation in the sky, not rain, definitely not snow for all of our snow fans out there. And even as we head into those overnight hours, continue to see those same conditions overhead. As we look at our surface analysis, showcasing those dry conditions in a little bit more detail, but it's also showing us the reason why. And again, as we tracked it at 5 o'clock, it's going to be this high pressure center positioned out there towards our south and west that's driving our forecast and giving us this colder air up there from the north. As we see here, we have this clockwise flow. And with that being said, we're getting this air from Missouri, Iowa, even the Dakotas reaching all the way into North Mississippi. And that is why this same feeling air up here is the same feeling air right here in Tupelo. So we're continuing to enjoy that as we get into those Monday evening hours, and of course enjoying that into your Tuesday as well. So Monday night, staying on the drier side, high pressure allowing us to stay on the drier side. And as we push overnight and into our Tuesday morning, really the early AM hours, still not tracking much of anything whenever it comes to rainfall, and not tracking anything whenever it comes to cloud cover either. A large portion of our moisture remaining down south towards Texas, but really going to be up north there into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Now, one big note in our forecast, I know we're on the broad scale right now, is going to be this low pressure center. As you can see, working its way through Canada right now, but this cold front extending off of it That's going to be driving our forecast as we work our way into our Wednesday forecast and giving us those limited chances of rainfall. So Tuesday, staying on the drier side, and not only that, we're staying on the sunnier side as well, as clear skies remain in our forecast. And as we work our way into that mid-morning time frame, of course, tracking those same conditions, but that low pressure center getting closer and closer. So it's just basically like the Jaws music. We hear the na-na, 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 na. Yeah, we're getting that as we get this low pressure center. Don't worry, no severe weather, nothing significant going to be attached to it, but it's our only rain chances this week. So I guess that is the big story as we get into the rest of our forecast this week. So the next 24, no rainfall in this forecast for our Tuesday. 6 a.m., 29 degrees with clear skies, and those clear skies persist into the afternoon as well. 59 degrees is where we top out on our Tuesday afternoon. Beautiful looking forecast, and I cannot wait to enjoy it with you guys here in North Mississippi. But it is going to be cold, so frosty conditions once again going to be in place for the start of our day. If we crank the car early, we'll avoid those frosty conditions, or at least make a dent in that. So make sure to do so tomorrow morning. Coming up in the next 60, though, what do we need to know? Well, we're talking latest on temperatures, not just into your Tuesday and Wednesday, but beyond that forecast. What are we expecting heading into the weekend? Yeah, we're already talking weekend forecast. We'll look at that in more detail coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Here in the next 60, we're also taking a look at those survey results coming up here in 60 as well.
Out with the old and in with the new. It's time to save big at Room to Room's New Year's sale. Store-wide markdowns 50 to 70% off. No tax. 48-month special financing. It's a new year at Room to Room Furniture in Tupelo. There's no place like home.
Can I ask a few questions?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, we have a dog, but she's little.
Do you have any unlocked guns around the house?
We do have a gun, but it's stored securely, locked in a safe that the kids can't access. Appreciate you asking.
Yeah, of course.
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that I would never be able to get over it and that my kids wouldn't have a father. I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. For the longest time, fear held me back from ultimately being who I wanted to. I had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
We're still getting a little bit of that view of the sunset in Smithville, Monroe County, kind of wrapping up the day with 45 degrees, dew points at 22. One note that we've talked about all last week with basically the floor of our temperatures was the dew point. And dew point being in the low 20s, it's a big thing heading into tonight because that's how much we're able to cool off into those overnight hours. So back into the 20s. That's expected for folks in Monroe County and surrounding areas. We'll look at that in just a moment, but I do want to just enjoy that starry night, the beautiful clear skies, and just a great forecast after what was an active weekend. And we will get to those survey results in just a moment, but again, let's not just breeze past what we're getting here in North Mississippi right now. Panola County, 41 degrees, dew point at 27, so a little bit higher, so that could limit how much we cool off, but nonetheless, still talking about 27 degrees. That's a cold forecast. So bundle up heading into tonight and for tomorrow morning. Still that beautiful sunset there as well. So hopefully you guys did get out and enjoy it. And if you did, submit those pictures, Mississippi Live Weather app. Greenville, 46 degrees, that dew point even higher along the Mississippi River. Now, one note with that, it's going to be slightly warmer at the river, but take that with a grain of salt. It's not going to be warm whatsoever, just slightly warmer than what folks in Monroe County will be getting. And again, we'll look at all those counties in just a moment in the Mississippi Live Weather viewing area. Of course, Mama Justice Doppler radar, not tracking anything on that as of now, just because of high pressure settling into the area and giving us those dry and clear skies. Temperatures, though, that continues to be the big story. Let's go ahead and track out a few of those temperatures across North Mississippi. 43 degrees in Pontotoc, 44 around Ripley, 42 Iuka, 46 Eupora, 47 Chula, and 47 around Hollandale. So already getting some of those warmer temperatures down there south and west compared to what we're getting up there in the northeast, about a 5-degree temperature swing. Well, let's go ahead and expand this out on the larger scale. And of course, you do see blue versus yellow. What exactly does that mean? Well, blue is cold and yellow is slightly warmer. So that's why we're getting 60 degrees in Dallas and 44 in Tupelo. Now, why is this happening? Big reason, moisture. There's a lot of it in Texas right now, and that's keeping those temperatures at bay. And so whenever we talk about moisture moving into our forecast, that's where we can expect a bit of an increase whenever it comes to those temperatures into our Wednesday. But it's not going to stick around forever. Of course, if we expand this out and look a little bit more towards our north, you can see that visual of all that moisture up there in Canada working its way into the northern half of the United States. Once that fully moves into the area, there'll be drier air back behind it. And of course, that drier air going to be paired with cold temperatures, and that cold Canadian air will once again find a way into our forecast, similar to how it did this morning. So our day planner tonight, of course, going to be cold like we've been talking about all evening long. 8 p.m., 37 degrees, 35 there by 10, and then low 30s back into the forecast by midnight. And yes, we will surpass that freezing mark. Not only that, we will go below freezing for the start of our Tuesday. So Futurecast, let's go ahead and track that out. And it does highlight those clear skies across North Mississippi. The one note with this forecast is we do get a southerly wind into the forecast. So with the southerly wind, that's allowing for that moisture to return to the area and of course rise those temperatures by the time we get towards our Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday, but also supplying that moisture once again as we work in that frontal system by the time we get towards our Wednesday. So we'll look at those rain chances in just a moment. But again, I don't want to jump past anything. And what we would jump past is a cold start to our Tuesday. So like we were talking about, Monroe County, 20 is going to be in the forecast with 29, Amory, Smithville, and Aberdeen, 28 there towards Columbus. Same thing, Northwest Alabama with 28 in Vernon and Hamilton. But as we work our way out towards the west, we're talking 33 Cleveland, Clarksdale, and Tunica, 35 around Greenville, and 32 Senatobia and Greenwood. So it's still freezing, but it's not the 20s. Not too bad, right? Well, we're going to be optimistic about this forecast. We keep the positivity whenever we go to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. All right, Futurecast for your Tuesday. Staying on the dry and clear side. If I expand things out, you can kind of see what's happening in the overall flow. So bear with me as I zoom things out. So what you're getting, you have high pressure down there towards your southwest, still in Texas, and cycling in a large bit of that moisture there for folks in Lubbock, Texas. Now what we're getting on the east side of that high is some drier air still as northerly winds move their way into the forecast. But this brown line right here, that's going to be your trough axis, and troughs are usually associated with frontal systems and those low pressure centers that work their way into the area. So if you remember at the top of the show, that low that I was talking about, that's attached to this trough. And as that trough moves closer into North Mississippi, that's where we are going to get those rain chances into the forecast. So it's not going to be by Tuesday. It's pretty much a slow moving trough, and that's going to drive that moisture further south with that high pressure center, but bring in our next system, and that system is coming in from the north, and that's all the way up in Canada, and going to be bringing us some rainfall as a result. So as we get into our Tuesday evening, bringing it back in here to North Mississippi, our Tuesday staying dry, clear, and sunny all day long. So another great day we need to take advantage of and get outside. Temperature-wise, going to be pretty warm. All things considered for what we had today, 60 degrees showing up in Tunica, Clarksdale, Greenwood, and 61 around Greenville, 59 in Oxford, same thing Tupelo, Starkville, and Amory. So some folks better than others, but honestly, upper 50s, low 60s, not a bad forecast for this time of year. Of course, we're spoiled from last week where we were getting 70s, but low 60s, not a bad thing. Our Tuesday night, staying on the drier side once again, but there you see that trough axis moving into the area. Now this trough, this is going to be the big driver because it's bringing in that frontal system already, getting that moisture into Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana by the time we get towards 10 o'clock on your Tuesday. And watch as we head overnight, that trough starts to move really quickly, bringing that front right back behind it, and that line of showers continue to develop by 3 a.m. on your Wednesday. And as we head out the door Wednesday morning, unfortunately for some of us, right around DeSoto, Tate, and Tunica County, dealing with turning on those windshield wipers for that morning commute. Now, as we get into our Wednesday morning, you can see how that line works its way into the area, 6 a.m., right over the top of the northwest side of our viewing area. That goes as far south as Washington and Bolivar County, even as far east as Tishomingo County. So pretty large extent in regards to the coverage area, and we do expect this to be the rainiest day of the next 7. That's not to say it's going to be a soggy day whatsoever, but it's our highest rain chances all week long. So honestly, I know we don't want rain, but enjoy it because it's not going to be much of it this next 7-day pattern. Low temperatures Wednesday, still going to be cold, but I told you that with the moisture in the forecast, going to allow some warmer air to be pushed in as a result. So that's why we're seeing 41 New Albany, Holly Springs, Corinth, and Iuka, 39 around Amory, and 42 Louisville, 40 Kosciuszko, Macon, and Eupora. So cold, yes, but slightly more mild than what we've experienced, what we've experienced this morning and what we'll experience tomorrow morning. So again, trying to be optimistic about the forecast. There you're getting your front moving through North Mississippi Wednesday at 6 a.m. and that does get into Lafayette County, Tippah, Benton, Prentiss, and Tishomingo County. Now as we get into the mid-morning time frame, you can see that that green stripe basically goes across the entirety of the area. Some yellow showing up, and that's indicative of some heavier rainfall. That's around Holmes County by 9 a.m. And this line, this cold front, continues to move right on through North Mississippi. And by the time we get towards the lunchtime hours, we're dry. So this doesn't last forever. That's why rain chances aren't very high, although we do expect most everybody to get at least a drop of rainfall because that does clear out by the afternoon and we're going to be left with those drier conditions as we wrap up our Wednesday. Now, emphasis on drier because look at this northerly wind driving out that moisture in our forecast and leaving us with that drier, clearer, and yes, colder forecast as those Canadian winds work their way into North Mississippi. That continuing to build by 9 p.m. and then really into those overnight hours. You can see just how breezy we're talking about. So wind chill Thursday morning. Don't wake up early if you don't have to, is all I'll say about that, because it is going to be a brisk forecast for sure. High temperatures Wednesday gives you something to enjoy right before that cold settles in. And we're talking 54 Houston, Bruce, as well as folks out in Cleveland and Clarksdale, 55 Grenada, Greenwood, and Kosciuszko, still showing 55 Macon, Aliceville, and 50 around Hamilton, Red Bay, and Iuka. So not too bad, right? Temperatures the next couple of days, very seasonable for this time of year. Well, beyond this, that's when the real cold settles in. Let's look at this high temperature graphic that basically shows the trend over the next 7 days. And as you can see, we're going to be mild and then a significant drop. Thursday, not even getting above that 40-degree threshold. Friday, Saturday, not getting much better. And then Sunday, again, not getting over that 40-degree threshold. It's going to be a cold next 7 days, especially beyond Wednesday once that frontal system clears on out. Low temperatures, though, cold, very cold. We're talking low 20s for our Thursday, for our Friday. Brief break on Saturday, break being 29 degrees. And then Sunday, Monday, 21 and 20 degrees respectively. That is not even accommodating for wind chill. And this is still several days out. We could see these temperatures trend down over the next several days. So it's going to be cold. We know that for sure. Now, I know some folks were hinting at some precip happening this weekend. As of right now, models definitely downtrended on how much moisture will be in the area. So the hopes of at least a flake, or at least seeing a flake, has definitely diminished. And you've heard meteorologist Caleb Bettelboot talk about it. Matt was breaking it down this morning. Both were pretty pessimistic on those chances, and I will join right along with them that I'm not very high on these chances, and basically those chances as low as it could be right now. So as we head over the next several days, of course, monitoring this, but we're not expecting those flakes to happen here in North Mississippi. We do primarily expect those to remain up north. But as we get into that extended forecast, at least with those cold temperatures, we're talking about a beautiful sky with plenty of sunshine. But those lows, my word, they stand out like a sore thumb. 21 degrees Sunday morning and 20 degrees Monday morning. Makes you miss the warm weather, right? Well, to an extent. We know we had severe weather attached to it. We know that we did have damage occur over the weekend as well. One of the things we'll be talking about as we come back from break will be the latest on those storm surveys the National Weather Service down in Jackson did. We will discuss the latest on those ratings and, of course, that damage that we received over the weekend. And we will let you guys know latest details on that coming up in the next 60 seconds for Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Some people judge a book by its cover, and if you're not what people are looking for, you're kind of like a reject.
School, it feels like everyone's staring at me, and I'm just kind of not really a person.
It just feels hard today. Nobody was listening to me.
And I'll try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. Made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
By the time you see the symptoms of lung cancer, it could be too late. Now there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early. If you smoked, get scanned.
Now, this was one of the local storm reports submitted a little bit later after the storms. This was Ashley in Nettleton submitting this to Mississippi Live Weather. You can see a large tree had fallen and unfortunately landed on their carport. But again, the good thing with this weekend's events, if there is any good thing that we can take from it, is there were no lives lost and there was no injuries that occurred. So we will definitely take that as we're looking post-storm and continue to assess those damages. Now, Nettleton, not the only area that experienced damage. Let's go ahead and get into those storm reports and, of course, those storm surveys. And as you look right here, a lot of that damage did occur down in South Mississippi with a few of those tornado reports as well. But as we look at those storm surveys, yes, all of the tornadic activity remains south. Exactly what we said, right, here on Mississippi Live Weather. And so lining up, well, with what we were forecasting for, unfortunately for them, but fortunately for us here in North Mississippi, that we stayed void of any of those severe storms, but also any of those tornadic storms. But surveys did take place, and this was, of course, January 9th was the first round of severe weather that took place. One note with what you're about to see, all of these storms, or at least all of these tornadoes, happened in the morning. Yeah, like 6, 7, 8 o'clock in your morning. So that's not usually the time that we see those happen in Mississippi, but unfortunately for folks down south, that was the case. And we are starting with this first storm report. This is down around Marion County, and these peak winds were around 90 miles an hour. And you may have seen on Mississippi Live Weather on your Friday a video that was showcasing exactly this, the tornado that went right on through the southern part of Marion County and right on the outside of Tylertown. 90 mile an hour peak winds. That length was about 4.1 miles. And that width, 125 yards. But this tornado, we said, would be a low-end rated tornado. It was rated an EF1. Let's go ahead and look at this damage that took place. So as you can see right here, this is surveillance video. Oh, is it going? Oh, it might have stopped. We're going to get it? Okay, unfortunately, I'm going to try one more thing, and let me see if this can work real quick, because I don't know if it's going to be able to get it. Oh, I hate that. Well, unfortunately, I don't know if that'll be able to pull up, but it is on our social medias, that video of the tornado moving through the Marion County area, damaged a John Deere in the process. And as you can see, not a significant amount of EF1 reports, but it only takes one report in order to rate this storm an EF1. A lot of those blue arrows actually showing up as EF0 reports. So a large part of this tornado was at EF0 strength, but you can see it did peak around 90 miles an hour in a few spots as it moved through Marion County. But this was one of 6 storms that moved through southern Mississippi. Our next one was just outside of the Revive area. That's Madison and Leake County. This was actually the closest to us here in North Mississippi, just on the southern county, or the one county underneath Talla County. And as you can see, 85 miles an hour. That rating was an EF0, 4.5 mile length, and that width only about 75 yards. So again, this was not a high-end tornado day. These also weren't a long-lived tornado day. Our longest track, I believe, is 9 miles, and we'll see that in just a moment. But, 4 miles, that's not on the ground, but for maybe 1, potentially 2 scans on our radar. So these were quick, had to be caught quick, and of course, we were tracking each one of these as we got into Mississippi Live Weather. Even though it's down south, of course, we want to keep the entire state safe. Now this one, of course, just south of Shady Grove, look at how short that track is. This was, of course, the North Laurel tornado. Actually, this was the John Deere. The other one, forgive me, was the restaurant that got destroyed. That was over there in Tylertown. And yeah, it was definitely on the higher end of the scale, and that was actually the EF1 report, was that restaurant. But North Laurel was the John Deere tornado, and that was the one that, of course, we got on surveillance video and showcased that on Friday here on Mississippi Live Weather. Those peak winds, 75 miles an hour, and as you can see, that width, only about 50 yards. This did not look high end, and it lifted basically as soon as it touched down on the ground, and that length was about 0.3 miles. So, of course, not very high, but still impactful, and folks are still picking up some of the roofing and some of the signs that were knocked over when this tornado did touch down. We're going to keep the coverage going. This is now on January 10th, so the next morning that we're tracking some of this damage, and this was as early as about 4 o'clock. And of course, this was over near Wanilla. I might be saying that incorrectly, but the Wanilla tornado, 75 mile an hour peak winds, EF0 strength, and similar to the one in Laurel, only about 60 yards. The Laurel one was about 50 yards, and of course that length slightly longer, about 0.73 miles, but nonetheless this could have been in between scans, but we were tracking every bit of this warning as the storm went on through, and fortunately everyone did stay safe. One of the final tornadoes that we did see was one of the higher end tornadoes that we did see, and of course that taking place on the morning of January 10th, that Jefferson-Davis County tornado. Peak winds 100 miles an hour, so this was an impactful storm, and lots of EF1 reports I might add as well, just on the south side of Prentiss County, Prentiss, Mississippi, and that length lasted for 4.8 miles. Width was about 350 yards, and that did get EF1 rated. So again, not the strong tornadoes, but this was one of our stronger tornadoes of this specific event. And as we go down south once again, this is our longest track that we actually have. This moving just on the east side of Heidelberg, and this was the Goodwater tornado. The Goodwater community was actually where that EF1 damage took place, and that, of course, right on the east side of the county line. 105 mile an hour peak winds, 9-mile length, or at least 9-mile track, and 300-yard width. And that rating was an EF1 due to the damage that took place in Goodwater. And so we again pray for the folks that were impacted, but we are very grateful that everyone came out of this okay. Now, as we head into this week, it's cold weather, but luckily that means no severe weather. And so our day planner tonight stays dry, stays calm, but stays cold as we get into our Monday night and our Tuesday morning. 37 degrees by 8. 35 by 10, and 33 there by midnight. It's going to be another cold one here in North Mississippi, so hopefully you guys do have ways of staying warm. Hello to everybody in the chat that is just now joining us. It's been a great time here for Mississippi Live Weather at 6, and as we just talked about, those were the storms that took place over the weekend and for the start of the weekend, where, of course, that was down in South Mississippi, but nonetheless, they're still Mississippians, and we still care about them and want to give them some coverage as well. So I do hope you guys stay safe tonight, stay warm, and enjoy the beautiful conditions that are going to be overhead this evening. Of course, if you have not done so, make sure to download that Mississippi Live Weather app today, free and available on iOS and Android, and you can always check out our website, msliveweather.com. We have the latest on those forecast discussions, as well as your hour-by-hour, your 7-day forecast, anything that you need right there in the palm of your hands. And of course, we will keep you guys updated as needed as we get into this extended pattern as well. Our next broadcast is going to be at 10 o'clock tonight. Can't wait to see you guys there, tracking the latest on those cold temperatures. And then Matt is going to be back on your Tuesday morning, 6:30, 7, and 7:30, tracking the latest on what's happening here in the Room to Room Weather Center. And of course, it's going to be a cold forecast, so he'll have the latest on that, probably with a jacket or at least 2 or 3 layers on standby. We'll see you guys back here at 10. Can't wait to see you guys then. But until then, have a great evening.
Hate is loud, but love is the majority.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.